Hey you guys, it's Britt. Tonight we're here with an update on the Mica Miller case. I am following this story. I know a lot of y'all are following it as well. I will link part 1 that I did a couple days ago down below, but we do have a pretty big update with the North Carolina medical examiner having released her cause, the cause of her passing, and it's raising so many more questions, so many more concerns. I also want to cover kind of the dark side, the alleged dark side of this sheriff's department. And so yeah, we're just going to go over a few things. If you're interested, please keep watching. Alright you guys, so first we're going to go over the cause of her passing that was just released a couple of hours ago, and then I'll move on to the other things that I want to include in this video. It says here, a North Carolina medical examiner has released the cause of death of a Myrtle Beach area pastor's wife who was found dead in a North Carolina state park. Dr. Richard Johnson said that Mica Miller died from a self-inflicted G-shot wound. According to a story by WPDE-TV, Miller, 30, died on April 27th after being found in her vehicle in Lumbar River State Park in Lumberton, North Carolina, according to her husband, John Paul Miller, on May 3rd, 2024. John Paul Miller leads the Solid Rock Church in Market Common. Mica Miller's death is being investigated by the Robeson, North Carolina County Sheriff's Office, and has been the topic of social media posts from church and non-church members, many using hashtag Justice for Micah. Chief Deputy Damian McLean with the Robeson County Sheriff's Department confirmed Friday that the case is under investigation, adding that anytime there is a death, the department does an investigation. He would not provide information about the case. The Sheriff's Office posted on its Facebook page Monday that it was aware that information pertaining to death of Mica Miller has been released by the North Carolina Medical Examiner's Office. The post said that Robeson County Sheriff Bernice Wilkins has scheduled a meeting with the family of Micah and will be releasing more detailed information Tuesday evening. The post also said Sheriff Wilkins is asking for everyone to please await the full timeline of events before making assumptions and coming to conclusions. Mica Miller was announced to the church congregation by her husband during a sermon on April 28th, a day after Micah was found dead. Miller told the church her death was self-induced. I think for me personally, when I first heard him announce it to the congregation, it was the lack of sincerity, and it was the instruction for anyone who was listening to this to not discuss it on church property. Those two things are very off-putting. Like, if you're, and of course I've never been a pastor, I never would be, but if you're announcing this, would you not want your congregation to console themselves, mourn with each other? They knew this woman to be a fine, upstanding, amazing person, and he just said that she lost her life. Why would you not want the people of your church to lean on one another? Take your time. Instead, he shooed them off the property and said, don't talk about it. Very, very odd behavior. I want to share a post that one of her close friends has shared, because while I understand there can be a lot of hearsay and he said, she said, and so on and so forth, I do think that listening to the people that knew her in real life is extremely important to this conversation. Because obviously people that interacted with this couple or them separately in real life, they're going to have insight that nobody else has. So I can come on here and have an opinion that this church is a mega church and it's giving culty vibes, and the pastor is a weirdo, and in my opinion their entire relationship stemmed from grooming. I think that it's even more important to listen to what the people that knew her have to say. So this post says, I talked to her multiple times in her final week here on Earth. She was making plans to get her hair cut, getting help with her car payment because she was a little short after paying her divorce lawyer, and planning to meet with us for the second service at church on Sunday. My final text with her on Friday at 9:19 p.m. was a woman making plans to live. What happened between Friday night and Saturday? I was so overwhelmed seeing two certain people on the news last night trying to minimize Micah by painting her mentally ill and crying that they were not currently present in her life. They were not. She wasn't having a mental meltdown when the scales were lifted from her eyes and she walked away. She was a warrior wearing the full armor of God. There's a couple people that I'd really like to hear from. One is JP's first wife. I'd like to know what she has to say about all of this. And I'd also like to hear from other people that knew Micah in her real life, who were exchanging, random texts with her throughout the day, or catching up with her at lunch, or would have dinner with her once in a while. I want to hear from those people, and I also want to hear from his first wife.
This Mica Miller update I'm about to give you is insane, and I'm just going to say, trigger warning, because y'all are not ready for this. Hell, I'm not ready for this. Now, all this information came from Kyler, who is a phenomenal creator that was on with me yesterday on YouTube, and I'm going to tag them below. But here we go. Basically, what I'm understanding is that apparently Micah kept a binder of everything, and that binder has been handed over to the authorities. Now, apparently, there's an affidavit that's going to be released either this week or next, and in it, there's apparently an apology letter from JP that basically admits to everything that Micah accuses him of. Now, apparently, after her death, Micah was taken to a hospital because they were trying to figure out who was going to get her body. And allegedly, during all of this, JP was more concerned with trying to get that divorce rushed through and finalized than trying to plan a funeral or whatever happened to Micah. Now, again, trigger warning, but these are some of the things that supposedly are going to come out in this affidavit. Now, remember, all of this is alleged, and it should be backed up in this affidavit that comes out whenever it is released. But apparently, it's being said that JP would often force Micah into his truck to go find a homeless man to, how do we word this, finish on her. Now, apparently one of those times the person that JP picked up he thought was a woman, but it turned out to be a man, but that didn't stop JP according to all of this. He apparently performed his own acts on this individual. And supposedly JP admits to this in the apology letter that we're going to eventually see. Other things that are being said in this is that he would take care of himself to their dog and that he had a blow-up doll of a 4-year-old. Now, apparently Micah was also very open about her chemical imbalance and her mental health, but was not bipolar, was not schizophrenic. Anyways, this case is getting crazier and crazier and just has so many layers. Anyways, be sure to follow Kyler. I'm tagging them below, and I will be back soon with updates, so hit that follow button if you don't already. But Mica Miller's cause of death has now officially been released as of about 15 minutes ago. Now, according to the Robeson County Medical Examiner, Micah's cause of death was revealed to be a self-inflicted firearm wound. He went on to say that based on the nature of the wound that is consistent with a self-inflicted, wound, and it was not in the back of the head as been rumored and speculated. Now, Dr. Johnson, who released this information, was not the on-call medical examiner the weekend that Mica Miller passed away. However, he did say that he went to the scene to help assist the on-call medical examiner. Now, I definitely want to know y'all's thoughts on all of this, but before I do, this is also something that's pertinent to share with you guys. Now, this was actually sent out to the members of Solid Rock Church, which is the church that Pastor John Paul Miller is the head of. And what it's saying is basically that they have released him from all functions for the time of healing, counsel, guidance, and pursuant to our governing instrument. Now, here's what I'm going to say, and I'm going to say that this is my personal opinion, so take that for what it's worth. I am still not fully convinced that Micah took her own life. However, let's say that this truly was a self-inflicted wound. I would still argue that with the abuse that is coming out, what we have seen that Micah went through, that John Paul would still be responsible for that death, given everything that he put this woman through. And if I am off base, you can tell me that, but that is my personal opinion.
The other thing I want to say in this video, and as y'all know, I don't cover true crime very often on my channel, and I've always said, allow the justice system to work. for the most part, but there's always outliers. And when there's outliers, it's cases like these that have so many questions. This is not a clear-cut kind of scenario that we're watching play out. There's a lot of questions. There's a lot of concerns. And I think these are the cases that get people talking and get people interested. And these are the kind of cases that if and when I do cover true crime, these are the ones that I will cover, because it is just so vital. People that are coming forth and talking about this and talking about some of the alleged abuse and mishandling of cases that goes on in this area by the police, who we should be able to trust, but you know, that's a whole nother conversation, unfortunately. And you have these people that are very powerful in these communities that are pastors or doctors or lawyers. And a lot of times they literally can get away with murder. And that's the sad fact of it all.
I have been hearing this nonstop. I actually had somebody tag me in a video of somebody from that county, and I'm going to link her right here. I want to give her credit. That's her name. Go follow her and go listen. But what she was saying was about a young woman, 21 years old. Her name was Casey Young, and she ended up, same situation where they ruled it a suicide. But here's the kicker. She ended up having no hands. And when I say no hands, I mean like her hands were cut off. And she goes on to say, call me dumb or call me not, but you can't self-inflict a wound if you don't have hands. And if you did self-inflict some type of wound to your head, how would you be able to cut off both of your hands? Definitely something I'm going to look into, but oh my gosh, if this is true and it's all I keep hearing about this county, then Lord help, we have got to find ways to support the family so that they can figure out how to get this correctly investigated.
The other thing I want to say about the medical examiner's report being published today, let's just say that his conclusion was it wasn't in the back of the head, and that's what is going to stick, which I don't buy into that theory myself personally. But do you think that this woman could have been so severely tortured and abused by her husband that it could have driven her to do this? And I always say, if you are so abusive that you drive someone to literally end their own life, you should be held liable for their homicide. That might be an unpopular opinion, but I think that if things go that way and it can be proven that it wasn't a hitman, it wasn't one of his cult members, it wasn't him himself, then I think that you should still have to pay the price for driving your literal spouse to the point where you abused, gaslit, and manipulated them so badly that they took their own life. You shouldn't be allowed to go out here and have martinis with your mistress. So that's how I feel about this entire situation. You know, again, I don't cover true crime, so please be a little gracious with the videos that I will make around this. But I'm just here to have a conversation and elevate other voices that are out here willing to share their side, their experience, their relationship with the victim or victims at times. So I will keep an eye on things, but of course I will also pepper a couple of other videos throughout this, just so that we can all be on the same page. Now I am going to try to stay away from a lot of the just like wild conspiracies that have no basis, because I don't think that those are pertinent to the conversation. But if there are people who, you know, live in this area and they have their own experience, or if they knew this amazing woman, then their voices should be elevated, and that's what I'm here to do. But I think that's enough for today. So if you like the video, please leave a like and a comment, and if you'd like to see more from me in the future, please subscribe. I'll see you guys soon. Bye.